It is another day to grab you a cup of coffee and click on Coffee and Clicks Wednesday post-election. Thanks for watching. I'm Gary Burton Jr.
And I'm Jessica Rockwell. We're glad to have you with us this morning. Hopefully you got your coffee. A lot of people were up late last night. A lot of those results didn't come in until well after midnight, which seems kind of like it. Usually there are a few races every single year that kind of happen like that.
It's always going to have your few.
Yeah.
Some people just count a little bit slower.
Some people, they want to make sure they get it right.
Absolutely, and that's the best way to do it. We will be providing you with the results if you weren't able to watch KARK for today. Of course, we won't be able to run through every single primary election, but we'll hit some of the heavy hitters as well. You can find that on our website, KARK.com, which we'll give you a look at right now. We'll go ahead and start with the U.S. Senate race, right? For the Republican primary election, Tom Cotton coming out on top, defeating Micah Ashby and Jeb Little to head on to the general election for the U.S. Senate. Now, as well, on the Democratic ticket for the primary election, you had Hallie Schaffner as well as Ethan Dunbar. Hallie Schaffner coming out on top of that one, setting up the general election for them to face Jeff Walden.
This will definitely be an interesting race to watch in November as kind of we see all of these three candidates kind of battling it out. We were talking to Capitol View host and Talk Business and Politics this morning, Roby Brock, about this. You've got on one side, you've got Tom Cotton, who has served in this seat since 2015. So you're talking about well over a decade worth of service for the U.S. Senate. But then you've also got, Hallie Schaffner, who is a sixth-generation farmer. In Arkansas, that appeals to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
We've got a lot of families who are out there who are in the farming business, who have been doing that for generations and generations. So Roby was kind of saying it's a toss-up here because you've got kind of someone that people, have elected in the past.
Used to. Yeah.
Are they happy with what he's doing in Washington? Are they not happy what he's doing in Washington? And then you've got the other side where, yes, she's running as a Democrat, which is not the majority of our state, but she's got that farmer background to appeal to a large population as well. So it'll certainly be an interesting one to watch and kind of see how this plays out. Obviously, we're going to get a lot more votes in for the general election. So it'll be interesting.
Just to add to your point, one of the things that stood out to me that Roby said, which really kind of made that really a big-time understanding point, was she speaks the language, if you will, that appeals to those voters that will be voting for the general election. So, hey, that's one to look out for. Absolutely, in November. Moving on to the U.S. House of Representatives, District 2. All right. Chris Jones for the Democratic ticket. Chris Jones coming out on top of Zach Huffman. As you guys may remember, Chris Jones ran for governor and lost to Sarah Huckabee Sanders back in 2022. So now he's vying for your vote to make it to Washington. And he's looking to, in November, defeat another man that's been in the seat since 2015, French Hill, who came out on top against Chase McDowell last night.
Yeah, and Roby was kind of talking about this one with District 2. This is district in Arkansas that's kind of centralized around Pulaski County, central Arkansas. Yeah. But with Pulaski County, it's kind of separated now with the redistricting and how that goes into three separate districts. Yeah. So it may be difficult for Chris Jones to get some of the vote just because of the way that it's been redistricted. But Jones is certainly not a what's it called? Like, he's a familiar name. That's what I'm trying to say, that we have seen before. We've seen run for governor against Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and now we're seeing him take on French Hill as well. So it'll be certainly interesting to kind of watch that play out. You know, we've got on, you know, the U.S. House of Representatives of French Hill and then U.S. Senate with Tom Cotton. We've got these two players who have been in you know,
11
serving
years. Yeah.
for 11 years. So it might be interesting to see how it kind of plays out. Like, are people headed like, I like this way, this is how we want to stay, or will there be some shakeups come November? Of course, that's something we will continue to watch. And as, of course, the elections can, like, you know, getting your campaign out there in the next couple of months will certainly mean a lot.
Absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, would that be the one where it will be first time a Democrat was in there in a while? No?
Maybe,
Okay.
maybe not. I'll go ahead and read really quick while we're still on the Chris Jones and French Hill. We were able to talk to both of the candidates yesterday after their both win. And, you know, I said this next couple of months are crucial. And Chris Jones kind of mentions that, saying that, you know, we're going to go in all full blast starting today. Yeah. We can't wait. We can't let up because there's so much at stake. Whether it's talking about sending money over for foreign wars or corruption, you name it, there's so much that we have to address. So that's the thing, too, like, especially with these primaries, it's like, okay, how do you feel about your win? But it's great, but, like, we have to keep moving because this isn't the end, in a way. And so Catherine Thornberry, French Hill was not able to make it to the party, but he talked a lot about moving forward to November. You know, he's done the campaign trail more than once here. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how he plays out. And he talked about, you know, all of his years of service to the U.S. House of Representatives representing Arkansas.
We did mention that Jones hopes to fill that Republican seat that's been filled by Republicans for over a decade.
Okay.
We mentioned that in the 6 o'clock. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Some things at stake there, you know, if you will. So that's two big-time races for two newcomers, if you will, trying to make it to Washington versus the old head that's already been there, you know.
Yeah,
so.
It'll certainly, like, I think what we'll see is it's going to be a race where it really plays out, where the question's going to be answered. Are people happy with how they have been represented?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they want to change, or are they happy with it? So that'll certainly kind of be like a line drawn in the sand that we'll be able to see in November how people are feeling.
Absolutely. 100%. Want to move on?
Yeah, we can go ahead and go to really quick before we move on to, you know, state races and whatnot. U.S. District 4. This is, if you look at the congressional map, it's essentially about half the state that covers District 4. You know, if you look, it's like diagonal and then everything. You know, Pine Bluff, Hot Springs, that kind of stuff. So Bruce Westerman ran unopposed in his Republican primary, so he automatically kind of went on to November. He will now face James Russell III, who defeated Stephen O'Donnell in the primary. So that'll be another one that we will be watching for.
Make sure there isn't a incumbent with that one. Not an incumbent,
Libertarian candidate.
No,
I don't believe there is for that one. I
It
believe
is
there
not.
are Libertarian candidates for those in Northwest Arkansas voting in 1 and 3.
Yeah.
But because we're in Central Arkansas, we're going to focus on Central Arkansas.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the results for the Democratic primary for governor. And we're looking at Fred Love, who defeated Miss Super Cypress Mays with 80% of the vote. Fred Love is a state senator, and so he will be going up against, of course, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who ran unopposed, as well as Libertarian candidate Colt Shelby. We didn't really hit on that with Roby today. We didn't really have time.
Yeah, I'm sure too. With two of the out of the 3 candidates already kind of chosen, it'll be more kind of a conversation as we get closer to November.
Yeah.
You know, you've got someone that served in the state senate already, so certainly a familiar name there as well. So I'm interested to see how the campaign process goes in the future, and you know how much Sanders will push heading into what she hopes will be her second term.
Yeah,
you know.
As we head to the Secretary of State primary election for the Republicans, Brian Norris, Kim Hammer, and Kathy Harden Harrison. This one is headed to a runoff.
Yes, Roby says top 2 will go to a runoff on March 31st, which it was very close this morning. What are the current numbers as of now?
Right now, updated 11 minutes ago, Brian Norris and Kim Hammer are your top 2 right now with 34.34 and 33.55% of the vote. This is tight.
This is as close as it gets, honestly. Now, I've seen, 2 candidates in one race kind of go, 49, But this is interesting to have 3 candidates and them all be so close.
Yeah. It's a great race.
It's truly a race to watch for sure for the Secretary of State. Now, I did want to mention, because you and I had this question for sure about earlier this week. I was saying, hey, why is Cole Jester not on this list?
Who is the current Secretary of State?
Yeah, you would think, okay, if he's already in the position, you would think he would want to run again. But essentially, there's laws put in place in the state of Arkansas, in the state constitution, that because Cole Jester was appointed to the position by Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, he cannot run for it. So,
if you've been appointed to a position, that's the law that you can't. So hey, that's all she wrote with that one. We'll look forward to who will be the 2 candidates heading into the runoff for the Secretary of State Republican side of that ticket, and that will be in about 3 weeks. Right, that runoff election will be in about 3 weeks. Moving on to Land Commissioner. Speaking of Cole Jester, he came out on top of Christian Olson with 72.23% of the vote. He will be the Commissioner of State Lands.
Well, he'll go to face.
Yes.
Yes, there is a general. He's going to face. There's no Democratic candidate in this race, so he will go on to face the Libertarian candidate, which, not to be confused with Christian Olson, is Christopher Olson. So we will. Oh, there is a Democratic candidate in this race, Kelly Grapp. Can't forget.
Yes,
can't
indeed.
forget about that.
Kelly Grapp is Secretary of State, not Land Commissioner.
Oh,
yeah,
my bad.
Kelly Grapp is the Democratic candidate for the Secretary of State. Right, so whoever wins that runoff election with the Republicans, Brian Norris, Kim Hammer, or Kathy Harden Harrison, whoever wins that runoff election in 3 weeks will face Democrat Kelly Grapp as well as Libertarian Michael Packo in the general election in November. So, yes, sorry for that confusion. Now, that was Secretary of State. Land Commissioner Cole Jester will face Libertarian Christopher Olson.
There we go.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
There's so many names today.
It is.
Man.
That's why we're here. And excuse us if we stumble a little bit. You know what I mean? We're
You see, I'm even getting the Secretary of State where Cole Jester was into what he's running for. I'm just gonna zip it.
No, don't zip it. Don't zip it. Don't zip it. Don't zip it at all. And so that moves us really quick to the Supreme Court race, where you see there, right there at the top of your screen, Nick Bronny. He defeats James Adams, and Bronny will take over that position at the end of the year. That was one that was a general election. That wasn't a primary. That was a general election. Now, I can't actually remember what Roby said, but, Nick Bronny was appointed as well. But was he appointed to Supreme Court? But he's justice.
You know what? He was appointed to Supreme Court seat. I don't want to get it wrong. Different seat than he's running for.
Got you.
So that's why that
still
works
that law
out.
is in place. So yeah, if you have any questions about that appointment from Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders to Nick Bronny, there is your answer there. It's for a different seat. So yeah, before we get to Lone Oak, let's break down 70 just once again. For the people. Alex Holiday takes home the win in the special election for District 70. Now, that means he will finish out Carlton Wing's term, which lasts through the end of the year. But in order for him to hold that spot in 2027, he must go up against Republican Bo Renshaw, who he actually beat in the special election. Bo Renshaw is already, in a sense, locked in for November because he's in a sense, ran unopposed.
Yep.
For the District 70 primary election. So he ran unopposed. But he did run for this special election to take over Carlton Wing's seat.
Yeah.
But Alex Holliday won that one. And Alex Holliday also won the Democratic primary against Cordelia Smith Johnson. So therefore, that sets up the rematch.
The rematch. I know we're going to see this yet again in November. And I asked Roby today, we see Alex Holliday come out on top, not by too much. It was still a very close race between Bo Renshaw and Alex Holliday. And I was like, is there any indication that that is what we're going to see in November?
Yeah.
He was like, especially with it being that close, it could go either way. And he explained it in a really great way, in a sense that, like, okay, with the Democratic primary, Alex Holliday taking home that one, you have Democrats voting. So now you're getting kind of everyone voting in together, and more people show up. It's just statistically, more people show up for the general election. Yeah. And because it was so close, I mean, we could be sitting here and saying, now Bo Renshaw wins.
Hey.
It's really, this is going to be an interesting one to watch, especially because Alex Holliday already made history by winning this special election by flipping the seat. This has been a seat that's been typically held by Republicans. Of course, Alex Holliday is a Democrat. So for the time being, for the rest of the year, he will hold that seat. And of course, if he wins again, that'll be kind of another monumental moment, seeing a Democrat hold the seat.
And what was interesting, and you see the results there, I'm kind of circling with my mouse. Roby said earlier that, yes, this has been a Republican-led seat or position, if you will. But recent races, it's been tight.
Yeah,
Just like
he
we
used
see
the
this
term
time.
purple in a way. It's
Red
been
and blue
so
mix.
tight with, the races as far as that goes. So it'll be interesting to see. Of course, this is the district, if I'm correct, that covers North Little Rock and Sherwood. So if you live in those areas, this is a race to watch. This is a race to, of course, vote for who you want to represent you.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and get to, I guess, one of the races that has received the most national attention, the national headlines, and we're talking about the Lonoke County Sheriff race. And in that race, you had current Sheriff John Staley going up against David Bufford, as well as Aaron Spencer. What makes this one so unique with the circumstances is that Aaron Spencer is awaiting trial for a second-degree murder charge. And so that in itself is something that's kind of unheard of, if you will.
Yeah.
And so before we dive in, Aaron Spencer is the preliminary winner of this one. I want to say that one before I say that. Take this video, but I went on and clipped our conversation with Roby just about this race, and here's what he had to say.
Now, I do want to, before we let you go, get to a local race that's getting national attention. We talk a lot about the race and how that kind of played out last night with Aaron Spencer winning and then also facing this trial for a second-degree murder charge. This is an interesting situation that we're in.
It really is, and it's going to be fascinating to see what developments kind of happen next. I honestly thought this race would probably go to a runoff just because there's 3 in there, and the incumbent sheriff is one of those, candidates. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Spencer wins in convincing fashion there. You beat 2 other opponents without a runoff. That is definitely a declaration of some political strength there. His trial's not been set yet, so this is going to be a really kind of curious. I can't think of anything in Arkansas political history that kind of rivals this, where we've had a candidate for this office like this who has this serious charge against them, and how that plays out. I mean, and now just even think about this: if you've got to go to you got to pull a jury pool from voters in Lonoke County, on its surface there. They overwhelmingly support this guy, so it's going to be a really interesting one to watch. So,
most definitely. Well, thank you so much, Roby, for joining us this morning. I know you worked lots of hours yesterday.
Definitely one to watch.
That will be interesting, especially because Roby mentioned a great point there. The trial day has not been set. And another great mention that I didn't even think about is, okay, you have a trial in Lonoke County. You're pulling the jury from the people that live in Lonoke County. If you've ever covered a trial before, you're trying to get a jury that doesn't have any bias, doesn't hopefully know about this situation.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's kind of hard. It's difficult. We saw that on a very much lighter note with the shooting of the water tower that happened in Kingsland, Arkansas. Obviously, that was heavily covered by the news, and I went to go to cover that trial. And the judge and the both attorneys on both sides had a really hard time picking the jury just because of how popular that story was.
Absolutely.
And I think they might have the same problem with this as well, especially now because it's getting national attention.
Yeah.
So where do you put the trial where there's really no bias or people don't know about it?
It's just from top to bottom. This is a case that's, you know, and the reason why it's kind of my personal opinion, and Roby kind of alluded this to as well, but just the fact that the situation surrounding the murder, the charge, and we have it right here on our article. I'll just read this quote right here. Aaron Spencer is facing a second-degree murder charge in 2024 shooting death of Michael Foster. According to filings, Spencer shot Foster after spotting the man driving his daughter. Foster at the time was released on bond after being accused of raping Foster's underage daughter in July of 2024. And so you have a man that's, in a sense, a dad in a sense that was defending, right? And so Roby kind of alluded to that. Maybe people resonate with that, on that what I would do in that moment type of ordeal, which may have alluded to the votes, may have this or that. But to your point, Jess, it's how can you have a trial in that town when that's the biggest talk, or the biggest talk in the county?
Yeah.
You know, trying to find a jury on that aspect that doesn't know anything about it, doesn't know anything about the person who won, you know, the potential sheriff race. There's still a general election that has to happen for it. But, you know, it like I said,
it comes down to a lot. And
Yeah,
it's, of
it's a
course,
lot.
like we talk about this idea of you have the right to a fair trial.
Absolutely.
Is that fair in that case to have a trial in the county where so many, okay, this guy's running for office and he won. He clearly has the majority
100,
of people
yeah.
behind him. So it's going to play out interestingly, one, for the race, but also to see about this trial, and Roby alluding to if it even happens.
Yeah.
So that'll certainly be something that we are following here. And, you know, of course, it's gotten national attention as well. Just for the sheer fact of this is almost unprecedented.
Absolutely.
Like even Roby alluded to it. I mean, we can say we've never seen anything like this before, but you know, we've been in this business for 10 years. We talk to someone like Roby who has seen
Everything.
years and decades of this.
Yeah.
This is something that like a lot of us haven't seen before. We don't have the answers to, and we'll kind of just have to see it play out. Of course, if it goes to trial, if he wins the spot, he's sheriff. If it goes to trial and he's convicted, then at that point they'll remove him from office. But
absolutely, yeah. And therefore, that general election in November sets up for Aaron Spencer, like we mentioned, who is awaiting trial for that charge, running up against the Democratic candidate, Brian Mitchell Sr. So all eyes on that. And these are just a handful of the races that you guys voted on yesterday in the primary election. I'll just take this full screen really quick and just show you guys just the amount of races that there are out there. So for you, head over to KARK.com and check out all of them. I think some of them are still, like we see right here, 95% reporting. Some of them are still counting votes and calculating. Now, some of them have been called, of course, but there are a few tight ones out there that hadn't. And so we're continuing to keep an eye on that as we proceed throughout.
Yeah.
So just right here, you see 93% reporting. You got a 47% and 43%. That's for State House District 92 on the Republican primary. So that one's still a tight one. So it's plenty of races out there that's still fairly tight, and those votes are still being counted.
Yeah, and another race that I do want to mention very quickly is Pulaski County Prosecutor, where the incumbent Will Jones lost to...
Right on time. Look at that. Just scroll to
Look at that. Bobby Forrest Jr. Now, I was trying to figure out how long Will Jones had been prosecuting attorneys. It's always kind of a race to watch when you talk about an incumbent losing, who is running again. So that one previously served as chief deputy.
See if I can pull it up here. And it okay. Doesn't show me. Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of what they were running on was kind of believe violent crime is a concern for the county. We talk a lot about that in the city of Little Rock as well as Pulaski County, so that's going to be kind of a big focus. It was a big focus for Will Jones. It's what he was running on, but also for Bobby Forrest Jr. as well. So that's something that we will be looking towards. That was a primary or nonpartisan race. Nonpartisan race. Yeah. So that means he is your new Pulaski County Prosecutor.
There it is, just like that. And before we go, we have one more thing that you need to go to the ballot box for, right? This is the KARK 4 elections of the day.
This might be the most important question.
This one is it, right?
No, I'm just kidding.
This dictates the future, right? We want to know for our During the Break debate this morning, we want to know how you feel when someone listens to music or videos out loud in public. And the reason why, which airline was that?
United Airlines is essentially banning people from using their phones watching videos on the flight.
Banning.
So much so that they can refuse to take you on the flight.
Banning.
If you're being a nuisance, we'll say.
Yeah.
So what a lot of people with how popular TikTok, Instagram, all of that kind of stuff is these days, you have people like in doctors' offices. Juliana was mentioning at the DMV, Arkansas Revenue Office, the other day that people are just listening to TikTok on loud.
Yeah.
I think, especially in a public place, it's rude. Turn it down. Okay, if you want to listen to it, turn it down.
There you
Pop in some earbuds. I will always say, if you're making a video and you want me to watch it, put closed captioning on it so I can just read along what's going on.
The thing is, in the DMV, as in Juliana's, it depends on the volume. Like maybe I don't have my AirPods, right, that day.
Yeah.
But at least if you're being courteous and watching it in your own space, that's one thing. But if it's on full blast while we're all just waiting and I can hear you on the next column while we're all sitting, now that's an issue. Now you just don't care about anybody.
Yeah.
Now maybe the next person can kind of hear your video because you don't have any headphones or anything and you got it kind of halfway through and you're listening to it. Phone right here, you're trying to hear, enough to where you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
I respect you trying to respect me. But just on full blast or having a speaker walking in there, that now we got an issue. Now that's just downright rude.
Yeah. And I think, too, we may see more airlines try and crack down on this. They had mentioned, I went on a flight last month, and they were like, turn down your cell phones if you're watching a movie. And I think it's because, like, people on an airplane, they're either trying to sleep, they're trying to read, they're trying to do things on their own phone. Just be curious because we're all shoved into that airplane.
Yeah. Airplanes should be relaxing as they can be and quiet.
And doctor's offices. Those are my two big ones.
Respect.
Don't even have it on a quiet noise. Low volume. At a doctor's office?
Yeah, I'm passing my time by.
Check emails.
The long. No. So you don't listen or watch anything.
I'll watch videos but no sound, and I'll try. And that's why I told you I live for closed captioning.
I'm gonna respectfully have mine down, and only me and maybe the person next to me will hear it. And they only hear it because they in my business. That's really why they hear it, because they
So
focus
get out of his business.
That's really what it boiled down to. Right? That's what it boiled down to. So hey, thank y'all for joining for another one. Thank you for voting. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good morning. Welcome back to Coffee and Clicks here on a Wednesday. It is post-election day here, so we're going to mix things up a little bit, and I'm going to give you a quick recap of some key races, and then Juliana will join me in about 15 minutes or so, and we'll have a little fun like we always do on Coffee and Clicks. But first, I do want to catch you guys up on the election. If you guys, have been sleeping, just now waking up, and you're just now tuning in, finding out what's going on out there with our primary election that we had last night. So there were some interesting things that happened, and then there were some things that we anticipated would probably happen. And one race in particular that a lot of people are talking about, not just here in Arkansas, not just in Lonoke County, but it's the Lonoke County Sheriff's race for the Republican primary. This race is very interesting because let's take a look now first at the candidates we have. So on the Republican ticket, we had the incumbent, which is current Sheriff John Staley. We also had David Bufford, and we had Aaron Spencer all running against each other on the primary ticket here. And what's interesting about this race is that Aaron Spencer, he is facing charges for murder, and he is accused of killing a person. And so Aaron Spencer is the person who actually won in this race. He will go on now to face off against the Democrat, which is Brian Mitchell Sr. This race is very interesting because he has not gone to trial yet. There actually has not been a trial date set. And the general election, of course, is in November. So there is a chance that the trial could happen before November. There's a chance it could happen after November, and that he could be in office if he wins the general election. So I want to go ahead and show you. We talked with Roby Brock. He is the host of Talk Business and Politics. He came on Good Day Arkansas this morning, and he really broke down what this could mean, not only for the race there in Lonoke County, but also for that case that's in Lonoke County. This is really just something that we have not seen before. And so he broke down what he thinks could happen. It's pretty crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys take a listen at what he said this morning on Good Day. There's a look now at some more races and some results there that are coming in this morning. Now, Talk Business and Politics host Roby Brock joins us to break down some of the biggest races and what we can also expect in November. So, Roby, you were very busy yesterday. What were some of your biggest takeaways or biggest surprises or shocks maybe that you saw?
So not a surprise at what happened at the statewide level in terms of runoff for Secretary of State, Tom Cotton winning, Hallie Schaffner winning, Fred Love winning. I think those were somewhat predictable. But locally, the Pulaski County results, a little bit of a surprise to me. I knew that prosecutor's race would be a very competitive race. We've seen that for weeks. We knew that one was going to be a proverbial hot potato, and it turned out to be. The county judges race, though, Wendell Griffin and Barry Hyde, that one's been flying under the radar a little bit. So when the results came in, I just haven't heard a lot of chatter about it, and I haven't seen a lot of coverage of it. So that one was a little bit of a surprise there.
Yeah,
so
I didn't see a lot of ads for that
no,
one either.
I didn't either.
Well,
so
yeah.
it's hard to take out an incumbent, but Wendell Griffin did have some name IDs, been a circuit judge here, well-known figure. So there was clearly some things going on politically underneath the surface that we were not seeing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so we had a special election as well. So we had the primary election,
Yes.
we had a special election with the House seat for District 70 there, Sherwood and North Little Rock area. And tell us a little bit about this. This is kind of a little confusing, but they did flip that seat. Democrats flipped that seat
yeah.
there.
Confusing if you don't live in the district, confusing if you do live in the district. So there was a vacancy created when Carlton Wing left his state representative seat to go to Arkansas TV, formerly Arkansas PBS. There was a special election set. This is the matchup for the special election. There was some litigation and lawsuits that resulted in that election being yesterday. Alex Holliday, the Democrat, beating Bo Renshaw, the Republican by a healthy margin. But at the same time, that was just to finish out Carlton Wing's term to the end of this year. So that's the result of that race. Alex Holliday will represent that district during the fiscal session that starts in April. But in November, those two will square off again, thanks to the primary yesterday, in a general election in November to see who represents the district for the next 2 years. Okay. So while that seat flipped to the Democrats with Holliday's win in the special election yesterday, a general election turnout's a lot different. There's more people that come out to vote, and it'll just be a whole new ball game. So that is a very purple district. It has been very competitive. It's been won by fewer than 10 votes before in the last decade. It's a race that the Republicans could take it back, you know, or Alex Holliday could hold it for the Democrats. That'll be one to watch, though, and see if the Democrats pick up a long-term extra vote up in the House.
Yeah, and you mentioned there'll be more turnout likely in November. Can you talk a little about the voter turnout that we saw this time?
It was pretty good for a primary in Arkansas. It's still, I think, when we settle all the numbers down, it'll be pitifully low when you think about how many people could vote. It's just people do not turn out in primary elections as much as they do in the general elections when the field is set. And that's been habitual and something that we've seen in decades, not just in Arkansas, but I mean across the nation. I've never seen a primary turnout larger than a general election turnout in my lifetime. So these are the trends that we're looking at. So whatever you saw yesterday, you can expect more voters to turn out in November. Yeah.
All right. Well, you're going to stick around, and in the next half hour, we're going to talk a little about Lonoke County Sheriff race.
Yeah.
That's a little spicy there.
Another one too.
Yes.
Yeah,
all right.
For sure.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. All right, so that was Roby. I actually played the wrong video, so you guys got a little preview there of some other things that Roby talked about. But one thing I do want to touch on, what he did talk about, is the turnout. So on the Arkansas Secretary of State's website, you can actually see the turnout from this election. And let's see here, pull that up for you guys. All right, so this map here, or this at the top here, shows the turnout for statewide turnout. And you can see 23.96% of voters, actually, registered voters, that is, actually voted. So very, very, very low turnout here in the primary, which, as Roby mentioned, is something that is, kind of expected in a primary. In the general election, typically we'll see more people turn out to vote. But another reason why it's important to vote, only 23% of voters are having their voices heard when more people could have their voices heard. But also looking at this, what we have pulled up right now, this is the Democratic primary there for the county judge. And this is something that Roby also touched on, saying that this was a little bit shocking for him, that he was not anticipating that the current county judge, Barry Hyde, was going to lose in this race. It was a race that, people really didn't talk about much. We didn't hear much about before the election. And Wendell Griffin, as Roby mentioned, does have recognizable name. People do kind of know who he is. And so that could have played into the factor for this. As far as the that race, though, the county judge, he will have to go on to face the Republican candidate in that race in November. As far as the county sheriff, Democratic county sheriff race for Pulaski County, current sheriff Eric Higgins won that race with 78% of the vote. And let's see, I wanted to show you guys another key race. Let's see. There we go. Get to the judges section here for Pulaski County. We have the prosecutor race. That is another race that was very, very interesting leading up to it. Of course, there were some issues and some things with Will Jones, who is the current Pulaski County prosecutor, and he is somebody who it came out that there were allegations about him cheating on his wife with somebody he worked with, and he did do an exclusive interview with our Donna Terrell here on Fox 16, and we showed you that, where he did, admit to doing that. Not sure if that's what played a role in this or not. Something that was very interesting is that Larry Jegley, he was the prosecutor before Will Jones. He held that seat for 26 years. He endorsed Bobby Forrest Jr., so that also could have played a factor in why Bobby Forrest Jr. won over Will Jones. So now, though, I do want to go ahead and go back to what I was telling you guys about with the Lonoke County Sheriff race with Aaron Spencer winning that primary. I want to go ahead and show you, take a listen to what Roby had to say about that, because I think what his explanation for what could possibly happen now was very interesting. So let's take a listen to this. A look now at some more races and the results coming in. We're going to be showing you these throughout the morning. Now, Talk Business and Politics host Roby Brock joins us now to break down some of the results from last night, as well as looking ahead to November. But let's get to a race that a lot of people are talking about, the Lonoke County Sheriff's race. Tell us a little bit, just break down what happened and what you foresee could happen from here.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's being talked about nationally.
Yeah.
Aaron Spencer won without a runoff over incumbent John Staley and another opponent in that Lonoke County Sheriff's race. Aaron Spencer notably has been arrested and is charged with second-degree murder for killing a man who allegedly molested his daughter, his teenage daughter. So that is where kind of the hype of this race has come from, and where it's garnering all that national attention. He won without a runoff last night, which is an indication that he's pretty popular with voters for how he handled that situation. Yeah. The prosecutor still has pending charges out there. The trial hadn't been set. So this one's got some really interesting legal as well as political dynamics in it, because I can't tell you what'll happen next.
Because I wanted to ask you that. So if, let's say, the trial does happen before the November general election, and let's say if he were to be convicted, what would that mean for the Republican Party?
Yeah, he might have to vacate his nomination under the law on that. But there's also a pretty good possibility that it doesn't happen until after the election. There's a possibility the prosecutor could reevaluate the charges against him now, because if you think about it, the jury pool for a trial in Lonoke County is going to come from the voters of that county, and they just gave him 53% of the vote. So, you know, a lot of times you'll hear about cases being moved because the defendant doesn't think they can get a fair trial. This may be a case where the prosecution thinks it might not get a fair trial. I don't know. Again, I don't have answers.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's raising a lot of questions, and so where it goes will be something I'm sure we'll explore as a news organization, because I can't think of anything that I
was just going to say, it feels like
it's
a first,
unprecedented.
right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, in recent political history. So,
yeah, definitely. Okay, and then the governor's race also, Governor Sanders, she did not have any opponents on the Republican ticket. On the Democratic side, we had Fred Love, who won. So tell us a little about, that race.
So that race will be an interesting one too. Just State Senator Fred Love has been in the legislature for about 15 years. I wouldn't say he's a statewide household name like Governor Sanders is, but he'll have some issues that he will be very much in contrast with Governor Sanders. He has differences of opinion on education, on health care. Certainly the Franklin County Prison is going to be a big issue. Fred Love was not in support of that. So you got some candidates with some difference of opinions for voters to choose from. Now, I think because this is a heavily Republican state, the governor is a fairly popular incumbent. Fred Love's got to make up some ground on that, and I think the governor probably does not engage much with Fred Love until she absolutely has to. So you never want to give your political opponent any free publicity, so I think that she'll downplay that she has a race this fall until she either sees something in polling or decides it's late enough in the race now we have to kind of engage there. And that'll be Fred Love's challenge. How do I get the governor to engage with me early on?
Yeah, any races to look forward to in November?
In November, look, I think the congressional races, particularly the 2nd District, will be an interesting one. Chris Jones, a very known commodity now out there, and French Hill, that's still a competitive 2nd Congressional District. It leans a little bit more Republican than it did. The U.S. Senate race, I'm very curious to see how Hallie Schaffner's message to rural Arkansas plays with what has been traditionally a Republican stronghold in rural Arkansas. Does she peel votes off and then cobble that together with urban and suburban voters that lean a little bit more Democratic in Arkansas? Can she make a pretty competitive run against Senator Cotton? He's going to have a lot of money. She'll have enough money to compete, and that one will be a race I think that'll garner some national eyeballs just to see how it's playing out, in part because Tom Cotton's the #3 Republican in the U.S. Senate. And again, you've got this narrative of this interesting, different Democratic candidate from rural Arkansas that speaks the language of farmers, and I just think it's an interesting political dynamic there. So those will be ones I'll watch.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
You bet.
And
Always
you have your show on
Sunday mornings, 9:30. Yeah,
right.
We'll be breaking down even more. If you're a political junkie, I got a lot more for you to consume.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We will be right back. Alrighty there. So there you go. That was Roby's take there on all things election. Of course, you can watch his show on Fox 16, also on KRK Fox 16 Plus. You can also watch Recap as well, because Caroline Derby will be joining him to break down all of everything that happened with the election. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with some more Coffee and Clicks. Welcome back, Coffee and Clicks. And we're matching today.
We are.
Wearing our
Purple.
purple. My favorite color.
I do like the color purple.
I do too.
Pink's my favorite, but I like purple. It's fun.
Purple's royalty.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
And your last name King.
Kind of fits.
Yeah.
It kind of fits.
So it works
right?
out.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Let's talk about some things.
Some things. Does it feel like Wednesday, by the way?
You know, I'm all confused because I was off Monday. And then my Tuesday was weird.
I was just talking to Kate, our digital director, and she
Yeah.
said today gives big Thursday or Friday
It
vibes.
does give Thursday.
Yes. And I was like, you know what? Big news event yesterday. The election.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yep.
When we have a big weather event, the day after always feels like it should be the end of the week. You're
It
like,
does.
okay.
I agree.
So I was like, I think that's
we got
why.
through it. Yeah.
But
And
it's
then
actually
like
Wednesday.
just Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I was going to say something. About it.
Flew
being
away?
Wednesday. Yeah. Where did it go? It just left my mind.
That's a Tuesday there.
I know. Oh, I woke up this morning at 3:15, wide awake, just laying there. So I was like, you know what? I guess we'll just get up and come to work.
See, that's crazy because that's still some sleep left.
I know, but I laid there. till 4, and I was like, I just gotta come.
I'm so greedy. If I wake up 10 minutes before my alarm, those are my 10 minutes.
Oh, I do too.
Going back to
but
sleep.
I couldn't go back to sleep.
That's
and then I
crazy.
started thinking about like the election stuff, and I was like, let me just
and
come
the mind
to work.
turns on, and you're like, okay.
It's too late. Yeah. I beat you to work today.
You did, yeah. I pulled into the parking garage, and I was like, her car's here.
Yeah. I was already in, so I don't know. Today was one of those days I couldn't sleep. My mind was on, and here we are.
Happy Wednesday.
On a Wednesday. Yeah. Okay, so a story that we were talking about today on our show was this with United Airlines. So they are now so if you're on a United Airlines flight, you can now be banned if you are playing music or videos out loud and you're not using headphones.
So when I first heard this story,
Mm-hmm.
I immediately thought, okay, what happened that made this a rule?
Oh, it's true.
Because there's always something that happens. Because yes,
Yeah.
people play stuff out loud and it's annoying.
Mhm.
I was on the KRK morning show. We were talking about this, and I said the other week I was at the DMV getting my new license plates, and people there playing it out loud, and we're all sitting there for a while. You know, if you don't make an appointment, you gotta wait. And so my wait was about an hour, and every now and again you hear TikToks, people playing, and I'm like, let's get some headphones.
Yeah.
So is it annoying? Yes. Is it so annoying they're going to ban people from a plane?
flights? Yeah.
So what happened?
That is a good point. That's a very good point. Something had to have happened for them
Yes.
to...
Like, did someone get mad after they said turn it down? And
Yeah.
I got to know. I'm so nosy. I got to
The
know.
other thing, though, on a plane, planes are so loud.
Yes.
So if you are able to hear somebody else's like music or whatever
It's
they're
gotta be
playing, it's
loud.
gotta be loud. But I guess the person's like, I can't hear, so they crank it up too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was flying back on Monday, and before the flight, it was early, 5 a.m. flight. So everybody's like,
keep it silent on one of those.
right. Everybody's like almost half asleep,
Yeah.
waiting for the flight. And there was a little boy playing video games. This is before we got on the plane.
Yeah.
He's playing video games on his phone or on whatever, and it's loud, and he's like saying things too.
All right. Where's the parental guardian? You know?
Ignoring him. Because I looked over a couple times and I was like, and they just, one thing I've noticed, I'm not a parent. Parents don't come for me.
Yeah, we need Pat in here to give the parental
I
side.
know, yeah. But I have noticed, I think that parents are used to tuning out their kids because they're used to being around kids and they're used to there being, chaos. Kids are loud.
Yeah.
And so
I don't blame the kid.
Yeah, I don't blame the kid at all.
But
I think parents get used to tuning them out. So when you're in public, sometimes they can tune them out and not realize that, like, I don't have kids, so I can't tune out your child.
Yeah.
So
that's
my
an interesting
theory.
point.
Yeah, my theory. I don't know,
But
Something else that's interesting though with with United Airlines, they will give you a pair of headphones.
I did see this. My thing is,
Yes.
back in a perfect world, we all had the same headphone jack.
Right.
And then all these phones started fighting for the best phone. And now
Right.
everyone's got a different headphone jack. And you know they're handing out the old headphone jacks because those are the ones that plug into the screens on a plane.
Yes. Yep.
So I get that they are like, we're going to ban people, so we have to come up with a solution. I get where this is coming from.
But it's
not
going
going
to
to work.
I know. Because you got to, If you don't have the little, dongle, is that what it's
Yes,
called?
yeah.
Then you're not going to be able to listen. But I saw something where phones were going back to having headphone jacks again.
But see, my problem with this is I couldn't even tell you what iPhone I have. It's not the newest one. I think it might be
old one.
a 15 or 16, but my fiance has an older one. Works fine.
Older than yours?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We never buy the new phone. We wait for like a couple phones.
I don't blame you.
You know, I don't want to pay all that money.
Yeah, I'm saying.
So I have a different headphone jack or a charger jack than he does.
Oh, you have the old school iPhone jack.
He has the old school one. Mine's the newer
Oh,
one.
so you have the C, the
Yes.
USB's
And
mini
so
C.
they said they're changing. Every phone is going to have the USC. I think there was a lawsuit actually about it.
Yeah.
So fine, I've adapted. Now Chase and I have to use different charger cords.
Oh, that's
Every time we get in the
annoying.
car, someone's driving, we got to change out the cords.
Yeah.
So if they change back and now I got a different headphone jack when I have wired headphones that fit in my jack, why do we change it?
Oh, so
You know?
you have actual headphones that at the end of it, it's the USB-C.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't know they made
Now, I
wired
don't
headphones
use
like that.
my wired headphones much.
Yeah.
I typically use Bluetooth, but I have them for when my headphones are die or something.
Yeah.
Because they don't sell them with the iPhone anymore. Back in the day,
I
you
know,
used to get headphones that came with it.
Yeah.
So I have headphones that came with that cord.
Oh.
And now we're changing things. You always have to have the dongle.
But the thing is, if you have the charger cord at the end of your
Yeah.
headphones, the charging part probably won't change.
yeah, they're just going to add
They're
a
just gonna
jack,
add the
which is
regular
fine.
jack.
I just hate that we keep adding and changing things.
I just don't like, because if you have the headphones that go into your charging port, what if you need to charge your phone while
Exactly.
you're on?
And that was my
There's too many
biggest
things, too many.
that made me mad the first time they changed
Yeah.
it. Is I used to always charge my phone when I listened to tunes or something.
Exactly, and now you can't.
So I get what United's doing here.
I get
I
it.
don't think it's
yeah.
going to work with the headphones, but we will see.
We will see, yeah. So on Friday, we're going to do an internet divided.
Ooh, that'll be good for a Friday.
I teased it for today, but election.
Tease
So,
it again.
Yes, tease. All right, have a great day, everyone.